Hugo Boss just did something I didn't expect. They took one of the best-selling men's fragrances of the last decade, Boss the Scent, and they made it magnetic. That's not a marketing word. That's a promise. And when a brand makes a promise like that on a bottle you're handing over £82 for, it needs to deliver. The second I sprayed this, I stood completely still. Not because it knocked me over with something loud and aggressive, but because it did something far more interesting. It pulled me in. There's a warmth to this fragrance that genuinely feels like it reaches out and wraps around you. It's intimate. It's confident. And it has an ingredient in it that most people won't know about, and when I tell you what it does to the dry down, you'll understand exactly why they named it magnetic. Stay with me to the end, because my verdict on whether this justifies the price might genuinely surprise you. Hugo Boss has been in the fragrance game since the 1990s, and let's be honest, they built their reputation on exactly the kind of fragrance this is. Polished. Masculine. Designed for the man who moves through the world with a certain intention. Boss the Scent launched back in 2015 and it became a phenomenon. Not just commercially, but culturally. It was the fragrance that turned a lot of young men onto the idea that smelling good was worth investing in. What Hugo Boss does brilliantly, and this is something the house has consistently demonstrated, is take classically masculine structures and make them feel modern. They're not trying to be niche. They're not trying to be avant-garde. They're trying to make the best version of a great masculine fragrance for a wide audience. And when they get it right, they really get it right. The magnetic line is their attempt to take what worked about the original and deepen it. Intensify it. Take it from a night-out fragrance and push it towards something with more lasting power, more emotional resonance. That ambition alone earns them some credit before we even open the box. Let's talk about the bottle, because this is actually one of the nicest things about the whole experience. The flacon is heavy in your hand, satisfyingly so. It has that dark, almost black-tinted glass that the original Boss the Scent made famous, but the magnetic version refines it. The lines are cleaner. There's a magnetic closure on the cap, and yes, that click is deeply satisfying every single time. It's not gimmicky. It feels intentional. The overall aesthetic is premium without being ostentatious. It would look completely at home on a designer bathroom shelf next to something that costs 3 times as much. The Boss branding is embossed rather than printed, which gives it a tactile quality that communicates quality without screaming luxury. Does the bottle match the scent? I'd say yes. There's a restraint to both. An elegance that never tips into showing off. If you're buying this as a gift, and plenty of people will, the unboxing experience is genuinely impressive. Right. First spray. This is where you lean in. The opening is immediately warm. There's no sharp citrus blast, no aggressive spice hit. Instead, what you get is a smooth, almost velvety opening that feels like the fragrance already knows where it's going. There's a gentle sweetness, not a sugary sweetness, more like warm skin and a faint trace of something spiced and woody beneath it. It announces itself quietly but with absolute confidence. Projection off the opening spray is excellent. This is not a skin scent in its early stages. It radiates. If you're in a room and you've just applied this, people will notice. Not because it's loud, but because there's something magnetically appealing about the opening that makes people lean slightly towards you rather than away. That distinction matters. It's refined from the very first second. There's no rough edge to work through, no medicinal opening that you have to wait out. It arrives polished. That's a sign of quality formulation, and it sets expectations high for what comes next. As the fragrance settles into the heart, we're talking about the first 30 minutes to an hour, it becomes genuinely beautiful. The warmth deepens. There's a richness here that reminds me of resinous woods, of something almost leathery but never harsh. The sweetness from the opening doesn't disappear, it integrates. It becomes part of the fabric of the fragrance rather than sitting on top of it. What surprised me most in the heart is how sensual this gets. I expected Boss the Scent Magnetic to be a polished, corporate-adjacent fragrance, something you'd wear to a smart dinner and no one would object to. And it is that. But in the heart it becomes something more personal. More intimate. There's something almost skin-like about it, a warmth that feels like it's reacting with your body chemistry rather than sitting on top of it. This is where the magnetic name starts to make real sense. The heart of this fragrance has a gravitational pull to it. It doesn't push outward aggressively. It draws people toward it. That is a real and rare quality in a mainstream masculine fragrance. 3 to 4 hours in, and here is where your £82 either justifies itself or doesn't. The dry down on Boss the Scent Magnetic is exceptional. This is the soul of the fragrance, and it's warm, woody, and deeply sensual. There's an almost smoky quality to the base, not a bonfire smoke, more like warm embers. There's a creamy softness too, something that blends with your skin temperature and creates something genuinely unique to you. It stops being a fragrance and starts being a scent signature. I want to mention Managwave here, because this is one of the key ingredients Hugo Boss uses in the Magnetic line, a proprietary aphrodisiac ingredient derived from a West African plant. It's designed to create an irresistible quality on the skin. I'll be honest with you, I can't tell you with certainty whether it's the Managwave or just superb formulation, but something in this dry down is genuinely captivating in a way that's hard to put into words. People react to it. That's the only objective test I know. The dry down is intimate, warm, and long-lasting. It doesn't turn soapy. It doesn't go sweet in an unpleasant way. It just becomes progressively more you, which is exactly what a great base should do. Hugo Boss claim 8 to 12 hours longevity on skin, and in my experience that's not marketing fiction. On skin, I'm getting 8 to 10 hours comfortably. On clothing, spray the inside of a collar or a cuff, and you're looking at well beyond 12 hours. I've caught traces of this the next morning on a shirt. That's impressive for an EDP at this price point. Sillage is moderate to strong in the first 2 hours, then it settles into that intimate zone I mentioned, where it's not filling a room but it's very much present to anyone close to you. In practical terms, this fragrance peaks during close contact. That makes it ideal for evenings, dates, social occasions where proximity matters. It's not a fragrance that announces you from across an open-plan office. It's a fragrance that rewards closeness. The projection is best in cool to mild temperatures. Like most warm, resinous fragrances, it performs slightly differently in summer heat. It can project a little too strongly when it's very warm, so bear that in mind. Autumn, winter, and spring evenings are where this genuinely shines. Let me paint you a couple of pictures. If you're the type of person who considers their fragrance the final punctuation mark on how they present themselves to the world, you've dressed well, you've made an effort, and you want a scent that communicates the same quiet confidence without screaming for attention, this is absolutely for you. If you're someone who dates, who wants a fragrance that creates a memorable impression in close quarters, something that people ask about at the end of the evening, this is built for exactly that situation. The intimate dry down was practically engineered for it. If you're a man in your mid-20s to mid-40s who wants something that bridges smart casual and formal occasions without carrying a second bottle, this does the job with elegance. Now, who should not wear this? If you want to be the loudest fragrance in the room, step back. This isn't Sauvage. It won't project across a bar. If you're looking for something fresh and citrus-forward for summer daytime wear, look elsewhere. And if you're deeply into niche, experimental fragrances and find mainstream masculines predictable, this might feel safe to you. It's not groundbreaking. It's just very, very good at what it is. £82 for 100 millilitres. That works out at 82 pence per milliliter. For context, that sits comfortably in the mid-luxury tier, above the supermarket shelf, well below the niche houses charging £250 for the same amount. Are you paying for the liquid or the name? Honestly, both, and that's not necessarily a criticism. The Hugo Boss name brings a standard of quality control, packaging, and accessibility that you're partly paying for. But the liquid itself is genuinely excellent. This isn't a cheap formula dressed up in a nice bottle. The longevity, the complexity of the dry down, and the overall performance all justify a serious portion of that price. If £82 feels steep and you want something in a similar warm, seductive masculine territory, Paco Rabanne's Invictus Intense or even the original Boss the Scent are worth considering at lower price points. But they don't have the depth of the Magnetic. I'd score Boss the Scent Magnetic for him an 8.5 out of 10. It loses half a point for not being quite bold enough in its sillage for those who want presence in a crowd. It loses another point for being perhaps predictable to a seasoned fragrance collector. But for everyone else, the quality, the longevity, and that extraordinary dry down make this one of the better mainstream masculine releases in recent years. You can pick it up at p-11.com. They stock the full 100ml EDP and the link is in the description below. Worth bookmarking the site if you haven't already, they carry a brilliant range. Boss the Scent Magnetic for him is the rare flanker that actually earns its name, warmer, deeper, and more intimate than its predecessor, with a dry down that genuinely rewards the people closest to you. At £82 it isn't a casual impulse buy, but it's an honest investment in a fragrance that delivers on almost every front. If you already own this, I want to know one thing: did that dry down live up to the hype for you, or did you end up reaching for something else 6 months later? Tell me in the comments. I read all of them. If honest fragrance reviews without the hype are what you're looking for, subscribe. I post every week and I never tell you something's great unless I genuinely believe it.